Welcome back to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our watch club for Marvel's The Falcon and Winter Soldier. It is a masterpiece, James. Complete, comprehensive. It captures the African-American experience. Guten Tag, and welcome back to Watch Club. My name is Nate, and in this week's episode, titled Power Broker, we see Sam and Bucky team up with an unexpectedly rich villain. We travel to the dark underbelly of a lawless city, and we get the reveal of not one, but two badass women of the MCU. But first, if you're joining us for the first time, this is Watch Club, our weekly review series, kind of like a book club, but actually it's like way better. Keep in mind, we will be going into full spoilers for this series and the MCU in general, so if you haven't watched this week's episode, be sure to do so, and then come right back in a snap. Now, before we easily escape a German prison, let me introduce you to our crew of extremely helpful butlers. First up, coming in to do shots of Snake, his favorite drink. He's not white, he's kind of brown, and he's always getting high down in Lowtown. We got the jazziest Madriporean gentleman, Justin.
Yeah, easily one of my favorite names that you've come up with.
There you go, man. There you go. Getting high down in Lowtown. Hold on. Wait a minute. I'm hearing from Intel now that the package that was MIA last week has finally been delivered, and oh my, what a package he is. He's dropping it like it's hot, popping it like it's not, and locking it like he's got a purple mask and a chessboard. He's Baron Kevin Hudson.
Oh, yeah. All right.
There you go.
Unexpectedly rich.
Yeah, unexpectedly rich.
Not unless there's an inheritance coming through that I don't know about.
No, yeah. How are you guys doing this fine evening?
Doing well.
Good.
Ready to talk about all things Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 3. Kev, happy to have you back. We're excited to hear your thoughts on the episode.
Yeah, you know what? I enjoyed this week more than I did last week, so I'll have more positive things to say than I probably would have last week.
Interesting.
Not that it was a bad episode by any stretch of the imagination.
For sure. Well, we'll get into it, and we'll get into the plot. But before we do, before we escape our thoughts on what happened in this week's episode, guys, let's start with just a brief overview on your high-level thoughts on the episode. Kev, why don't you continue there? We'll start with you.
Yeah, I just thought, the first episode was a bit slower, but it was really just sort of reintroducing us to some characters that we hadn't spent a lot of time with. And then I thought last week's episode did a really good job of sort of setting into motion what we were going to see this season, but I just wanted to get there, and so the sort of tease of Zemo at the end there, it was like, no, I want to get in there. And so, of course, this week doing so, it was a lot of fun. He's just so darn good. He's just so amazing. So I had a lot of fun with his character this week for sure.
Very cool. Justin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of with Kevin on this episode in the sense that I just kind of want to get there. I enjoyed last week's episode because of some reveals. And the reveals in this episode, while I guess they were to be anticipated or expected, if you will, based on rumors. At least one of them,
I think.
Yeah, based on one of them for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of wish that this was a 6-episode dump rather than a week to week.
You just want a dump, dude.
Well, no, I just want, I feel like I really just want to watch this story, right? I don't know.
Right. Well, it's because it's a movie. You keep calling it a movie. Every week we talk.
Yeah.
You're like, it's a movie.
And I did find, again, this episode ends on that part. I'm like, yes, their next mission. I'm like, oh, crap. Yes, I got to wait till next week.
Wait a week.
Right? That's now it's
that's
getting
a great
annoying.
thing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
Well, and I'm surprised you aren't more positive, Justin, considering this is it's not so much now a post blip show. It's almost like a sequel to the Winter Soldier movie, which is
really.
like your favorite, no?
Yes, it is my favorite.
So, I'm surprised you aren't just if that's where this is going.
But that's, again, I'm sure we'll get more payoffs, and it's going to be very gratifying towards the end. But I guess I'm just so excited about it, and I'm so into where it's going that I just want it all now. Like, I'm impatient. I'm kind of in that Nate mode of just like, feed me. I'm like greedy for it. You know what I mean? I just want it now.
Yeah, dude. Let's go. Let's get going.
Yeah, right?
I gotta say, Justin, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I actually, this wasn't my favorite episode, but I did still really enjoy it.
Yes.
I mentioned last week how I thought that Marvel's just been so consistent, and I think with this episode, the only thing is they may have missed the mark in terms of narratively balancing this episode. I found that there was some really strange choices made in terms of the structure of some of the scenes.
Yeah.
And I'll get into that as we start to get into some of these scenes.
Things felt a little bit rushed at times, right? Like just kind of like glazed over a little bit. Like, we'll talk about it in specific
what do you want,
scenes.
guys? Do you want it fast or do you want it to...
No, but I understand there's a real sense of difference in what we're saying in terms of what we want and what we're getting. But I think that like there was just certain things that felt very convenient versus things that felt very narratively plausible.
Yeah.
Things that kind of fell into place very easily versus things that you kind of like flush out a little bit more, I guess, as the episodes go on. So yeah.
But Kevin, to your point, the character chemistry was incredible in this episode, and I thought the fight choreography more than makes up for a lot of the missteps of the narrative balancing. And I'll explain more as we go through the plot, and we can talk about who wrote this episode and why we may feel that this reminds us of maybe another franchise that we've enjoyed. But we'll get to that all later, guys. Let's start by just getting into this plot. Guys, the episode starts with an advertisement for the GRC, the Global Repatriation Council. They got to come up with an easier, I guess that's how they call it, the GRC, where we hear a narrator promising to help you get back to the way things were, with stock footage of sort of happy people getting back to their lives as the GRC has helped them reset, restore, and rebuild. Then we cut to a GRC van door open up as John Walker approaches the safe house in Munich, where the Flag Smashers had stayed the night before. As the GRC officers around him use force to hold everyone in the room against the wall, John interrogates Rudy, who is the guy who's helping them stay there, who refuses to answer him, saying he doesn't know where they are. John says, "That's BS," and Rudy looks at him and spits in his face. That was an awesome moment. In a fit of rage, John slams Rudy into the wall and says, "Don't you know who I am?" To which Rudy replies in English, saying, "Yes, I do, and I don't care." Lamar attempts to calm John down, and John suggests that they bet on someone with a better hand. So, guys, first of all, what did you think of this advertisement opening? Something we haven't seen since WandaVision.
It was intentional, obviously, to help give a bit of a background to what the organization is. The acronym again is
the GRC.
GRC. So who the GRC people? Because we've heard them referenced, and it's interesting. Again, I think I mentioned this last episode. Taking something so fantastical as half of life disappearing and having them come back, the GRC are in place as like a plausible sort of organization that is designed to help reintegrate these people into society. Because 5 years after they disappeared, society was going the other direction and accepting the fact that they're never going to come back, right? So, this idea of, again, was it really right for these heroes to do that? I think the interesting part of what the ad is meant to do and what it's meant to tell you, and then the stark cut of the doors opening and
there's that contrast.
Yes, and the realization that what's front facing and what's behind the scenes are two different things. So I think that was kind of the intention of the scene, to give you a little bit more of a distorted view of who this new Captain America could be, right? Because he's still a little sketch. Because that scene that towards the end with Lamar, where he's getting frantic and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to take a bet on someone else." Right before he says that line, they have this weird sort of shot sequence of him, and he's like, he's enraged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, I love how they contrasted the peaceful, uplifting vibe of the GRC ad with like the brute force and the actual, you see how John reacts to all this stuff. He's definitely starting to lose his way. We see him unhinged here after he gets spit in the face, and clearly he's on his way to the dark side, right? But I just thought it was really well done and really smart, and it really helps, to your point, Justin, ground this world in reality, because you have to imagine that the advertisement, that's what people like us would be seeing. we'd be seeing that on TV and we'd be like, oh yeah, the GRC is actually like so great, and like I'd probably like donate to them on stream or something. Like I would have a bracelet that says GRC or something. Like there's the aspect of the fact that there's human beings in the world and they have no idea that any of this is going on. So I just think that's so cool how much that probably mirrors, in a kind of a scary way, our own reality.
Yeah, I just think it's such a good way to sort of explain what's going on without having a character sort of telling somebody. That's just such a smart way to get that information across from us. And then, to see the new Captain America resemble kind of his comic book character where he was at this stage, where he is sort of like almost like getting arrogant with the power that he's been given. So I just thought that was a great scene because we didn't see much of him in this episode. I was quite surprised, actually.
He doesn't show up again for a while after this scene.
I really hope that we get at least one more episode that's like more focused on him. I think it would be really cool.
It's coming.
To see like his downfall. I'd love to see him kill someone, to be honest with you, like in his rage. Like I'd love to see him maybe get that. I don't think he actually has the serum yet. I don't know. I keep going back and forth, but I would love to see him get the serum and then react and then just like crush someone's head and just be like, what have I done? And like there's people like taking pictures of him on their phone. Like maybe it happens in like an open street. I don't know. I could really see them going full dark villain with him, which is awesome. So guys, we cut back to Berlin to see Sam and Bucky walking the halls of the German prison, where Bucky decides to meet Zemo on his own. Longing, rusted, 17. Zemo approaches Bucky and the two discuss the past. And Zemo apologizes, letting Bucky know it was never personal. It's just a means to an end. Bucky enlightens Zemo on the situation with the Flag Smashers, and Zemo instantly recognizes Sam and Bucky's desperation for a solution. Lucky for them, he knows where to begin. We cut back to see Bucky informing Sam of his plan to break Zemo out of jail. Obviously reluctant based on their history, Sam disagrees with the plan, saying that Zemo is going to mess with their minds, reminding Bucky that he blew up the UN, killed King T'Chaka, and blamed Bucky for it, stating that the Wakandans didn't forget. As Bucky walks Sam through his hypothetical plan, I'm using air quotes there, we see the plan executed as Bucky explains it. But what we and Sam don't realize at this point is that it's already happened, and Zemo walks right into the room. After reacting, Sam reluctantly agrees and asks Zemo, where do we start? As Zemo cracks a smile, we cut to the intro title. So guys, what did you think of the reintroduction to Zemo? And do you think Sam and Bucky made the right call in trusting him?
I don't even think they have a choice. I think they made it pretty clear that they need, his sort of background information on the people that were involved in the original attempts to create the serum and everything like that. And so I love that they're forced into this situation that they probably otherwise would not want to be in. And it's for our entertainment in the end. So, we all win because of it.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think at the end of the last episode, it was pretty clear they had no leads, and the only lead they had was Zemo, because they knew about his past, and they've already had a previous history with him. So it makes the most sense. They have to trust him to get to the next step of information. I loved Zemo in Civil War. I think, it gave you that side, that story of him. But here we got to see the personality show a little bit more, which was great. And it'll continue as it goes. But even in this one scene, we got to see a little bit more of a relaxed, if you will, and a bit more he's a little bit more accepting, I guess, of the circumstances that he's in. So he doesn't seem like he's on edge as much as he was in obviously Civil War.
So see, I read it as he's ready. You know what I mean? Like I read it as he's
in
had
control.
all this time.
He's in control.
He's had all this time to relax and take time off, and now he's like, let's get to work. And I thought the way that they showed the breakout was really well executed.
It was a bit easy, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, given how much runtime they have in these episodes, I think, and how much they have to get through with the rest of the series, I was, I'm happy about the pacing on it. I'm glad it, I kind of want it to be a little more bombastic, but I think this was actually one of the parts of the episode that I like the pacing of.
Yeah.
But I honestly, I don't think they made the right call at all. Zemo's definitely going to betray them big time.
100%.
And I think his character is actually going to align with John and Bucky in the sense that I think that we're all gonna see all of them sort of succumb to their inner voices, telling them to do what they have to do to achieve their goals. So I think we're going to see them sort of break down because they can't help it. Like I think obviously we'll get to a little bit in terms of Bucky and his maybe how easy it is for him to fall back into his old ways a little bit later in the episode. But I just feel like we're going to see moments where all three of those characters are going to have really sort of dark moments where they regress into their darkest form or something like that. I kind of feel like there's going to be some sort of theming going on with those characters. So guys, then we see Zemo explain his past, hunting down anyone Hydra recruited to recreate the serum, explaining that once it's out there, someone can create an army of people like the Avengers. As he grabs his purple mask, he explains that he's ended the super soldier program before, and that he has no intention of letting his work go unfinished. He lets Sam and Bucky know that his first step in his plan is to reach a woman named Selby. So they hop on Zemo's plane, and Sam exclaims, "The whole time you've been rich?" Zemo explains that all this time he's still been a Baron, and he's got a plane. So on the plane, Zemo wastes no time in driving a wedge between Sam and Bucky as he encourages arguments over Marvin Gaye and discusses the symbolism of Captain America. He tells them about their destination, Madripoor, and lets them know that they can't just walk in as themselves, and that Bucky will have to become someone he claims is gone. So guys, this scene on the plane really helps to show the lasting power of wealth. Did you expect to see Zemo owning his own plane, and did you expect him to have a butler friend?
I mean, clearly, the butler is, like a family friend or whatever. Like, right. He was obviously very Alfred. Close when he was, exactly.
Yeah, he's his Alfred, and he's Batman.
Essentially.
I like that. I mean, it does make sense. He is a Baron. His family was royalty, right? So why wouldn't he be stinking rich? And it certainly helps drive the plot, right? It makes that sort of convenient for everybody that they can get around easily.
That's, again, it does make sense because he is a Baron, that he would be wealthy. This is our first instance where we get a callback to Sokovia and his sort of disdain of the events that happened. Before your team laid waste to my country, he says, I believe, right? So the scene on the plane, though, where he's talking about Marvin Gaye, and then that was really funny and also very, very introspective, like at the same time for someone like Zemo. And I love how Sam is just like, he's way out of line, but he's entirely right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, exactly. He should not be talking about African American culture, but he's right. And then his deep sort of introspective look at the iconography of Captain America and what that means, and really hitting home the idea of what Sam struggled with. It does really at the end of the day serve as another level of layering to why Sam gave that shield up.
But it's interesting, like I love that you called out Zemo and how he, just how smart and how cunning he is, in the sense that maybe he doesn't fully understand or even potentially believe in what he's actually saying about Marvin Gaye, but he knows that those are the right words to say to get on one side of these two heroes. And so I just thought it was so cool to see that sort of juxtaposition of him immediately starting to drive a wedge, but also to see him like literally just before, walking up to his family butler and kissing him on the cheek and giving him a hug. And I'm like, this show is doing such a great job of showing us that like nobody's like good or bad necessarily in this series, at least, including Zemo, who like up until this point, like, I didn't think he was capable of friendship. You know what I mean? But like, you see him in this light.
Well, can you say?
And then you immediately, Can
you say? Well, yeah, no, I get it. You see him in the light, and you understand a different side. But even in the justification of Civil War, of his intention, of what he was trying to do, yes, it's a bad guy mentality. But can you really blame the guy who lost his family? And you know what I mean? Like, even just coming off of something like 24. Where they look at the other side of that coin, where they just take a look and they say, like, can you really challenge what is right and what is wrong morally based on the actions and the justification, right? So, like, is he really that super villain, or is he just super intelligent and knows how to work a situation?
Yeah, I don't think we know who he was before the Sokovia incident took place. He might have been a a very nice guy and a family man.
He was a military
loyal
man. He was a military man. That's as much as we knew, other than that fact that he was a baron, right? But he was a military guy. He was part of the Sokovia. That's why he was so tactical and knew how to do things so well. But it's just, again, can we really say that he's a supervillain given what's happening? We'll see as it evolves, right? So I think we're seeing more the birth of a supervillain rather than him actually being the supervillain that he is. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think Civil War was like the first step. Here we're getting a little bit more, and I think we'll see more.
And just to jump back on the whole Marvin Gaye thing, I love that Sam loves this album, clearly. Yeah. He's been talking about it his entire MCU career. Yeah. And it's just kind of neat that the episode aired on April 2nd, which would have been Marvin Gaye's 82nd birthday. And so it was kind of a neat way. It worked out well in that they were able to pay tribute in that small
that's
way.
Really cool. That's really cool.
I really enjoyed the one little Easter egg here that was dropped. That was as a confirmation, though, that book belonged to Steve Rogers, right? Because I think you had mentioned it, Nate, in our very first one. Imagine that we find out that belonged to him, and 100% it does. So that means Steve Rogers left it for him to be like, hey, this stuff helped. Like to get me reintegrated into current times, right? So, and now he's adding to it and building his own sort of thing. So I think that shows again that brother bond between Bucky and Steve that ran so deep. And he did believe in him. He did believe in him to be more than just the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm happy that I got that right. That's about the only thing that I've ever gotten right, besides, of course, Mephisto being in the series. But guys, let's get back to it here. Back in Latvia, at the CRG resettlement camp, Dovich lets Carly know that there's not much time and that she should be with her. Then we see the death of a woman who goes by Mama Danya, with Carly holding her hand saying she's sorry. Guys, really quick, just before we keep going here, who do you think Mama Danya was?
Well, wasn't he a teacher? Was there a teacher?
I guess later in the episode, it's explained that she was a teacher, yeah. Right. But, like, was she, like, the leader of the Flag Smashers or something like that? Because I think she was maybe, like, a mother to Carly.
Yeah, a motive. I feel like she's the motive. She's the motive of why she's doing everything she's doing, and we'll understand that motive a little bit more. But at least here we saw a loss that was obviously very integral to her, that is only going to influence her to become, and I think she's working towards being a villain of some kind, especially given the events that will take place later.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about it.
Well, and then this is really where we get to see the truth of what's going on in these internment camps versus the rosy picture that the GRC is painting versus the reality of conditions in these, that people are dying because of overcrowding and probably starving and that sort of thing. So, well, and once again we're getting another sort of it's not just black and white. They're painting in gray here with there's a villain, if you want to call Carly a villain, and the Flag Smashers villains that have a pretty understandable motive. Like you can see where they're coming from. So they might be doing the wrong things in order to try and achieve something that is ultimately right in the end.
Yes, that's a great way to say that.
Did you guys notice the charm on the end of her bracelet? It's the hand with the world in it, which I know that's like the Flag Smashers symbol that we see Torres, like with the augmented reality, he uses that to find them. But it also reminded me a lot of the hand of Hamsa, which is a universal sign of protection and power and strength. And it dates back to the ancient Mesopotamia. And when it faces down, like it is in the shot that we see, it represents welcoming the goodness of the universe into your life, which kind of makes me feel like, this was meant to represent Carl Morgenthau's dad in the comic books. We had Mitch on the show last week, and he talked about Carl Morgenthau and his relationship with his dad, who his dad really believed that the world was capable of peace and goodness. But in the end, he wasn't able to really change it, right? He wasn't able to change the world. And so I feel like this is maybe how Carly sees Mama Danya, right? She sees what she started, but she knows that in order to finish it, she does have to use violence. And so I just thought that was an interesting sort of parallel there. And I'm probably reading too much into that, but that's kind of how I saw it. I've seen that symbol before. It's actually prominent in the Last of Us. Ellie gets a bracelet. Anyways, guys, next we see Madripoor in all its neon glowing goodness, walking down the street, and they're like strutting down the street almost. We see Zemo and Sam and Bucky, and Zemo explains that no matter what happens, they must stay in character, with Sam taking on the role of Conrad Mack, aka the Smiling Tiger, which, by the way, apparently in the comic books, that's like one of the original origin stories for Sam, was that he was like a pimp. And so it's obviously very troublesome.
They went back and retconned that. Yeah,
yeah, but I think that's kind
of a fun way to pay tribute to it, right?
Yes,
to sort of pay homage.
Just sort of pay homage to, like, look how far we've come. Thank goodness. But guys, with no friends in Hightown, they take a car into Lowtown, and as they're escorted in by a biker gang, the three of them head down into Lowtown, surrounded by lawlessness. They enter a club, and Zemo asks to see Selby. The bartender asks him if Conrad wants his usual drink, as the people around them start to take notice. Also, we see a hooded figure cover themselves up even more. We'll get to that later. The bartender cuts open a snake and removes the snake's amniotic sac and drops it into Sam's drink. We watch him drink it very carefully, almost as like it's like he's proving his identity to the bartender, because the bartender's just like staring at him. And after being approached by one of the power broker's thugs, Zemo asks the Winter Soldier to attack. Just as the fight gets out of hand and everyone draws guns on them, the bartender lets them know Selby will see them now. So, guys, what did you think of? First of all, what did you think of Madripoor? And then also seeing Bucky bring back the Winter Soldier so easily. Justin.
Seeing Madripoor was great. I think it's a good introduction to this new world. Had that nice South Asian infused sort of style to it, which is where its origin is in, obviously, the Marvel Comics. It's primarily featured in X-Men, which I think is interesting.
Right.
Given the fact that the bar that they walked into, which was called the Princess Bar, is owned by Wolverine.
Oh,
right.
really?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
now we need to go back and see if there's any like 3-line scratches on any of
anything, right? Yeah, no,
anything,
I know.
yeah.
So I think that like there's just a lot of like this part was really enriching to the universe of MCU, because we're now being introduced to obviously this fictional space that's now being encompassed in canon, and who knows what else will come out of it. And also in the comics, there's this group called the Thunderbolts, and actually my brother-in-law Rob was talking to me about this, and he compared them to a Suicide Squad. So they are basically former supervillains trying to be heroes, and their leader is Baron Zemo.
Oh, wow.
So you have Smiling Tiger. It was part of that group. Same with Winter Soldier down the road. What's interesting is that like there's just a lot that's being planted here for future, for definitely future, but it all sort of makes sense as to where it could go. I was just going to jump to your next question real quick in regards to the Winter Soldier scene. I feel like as much as his mind is cleared of the sort of fogginess that Hydra put in there, it just goes to show you will always know those tricks that you have. And yes, it was so easy for him to get back into it because he knows what he is. He's a weapon. Yeah. Right? Like even
instinct, you know?
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's just instinct. And it felt really natural. And I was like, whoa, look at this guy go, man. Like just like, why would you want to cage that?
His arm shot like a bullet, dude. Like, and I loved Zemo leaning over to Sam, and again you see just how good he is at dropping seeds into their mind, like planting these seeds of like, you know, where he's just like, didn't take much for him to fall back into form. Yeah, you know what I mean? And then
him, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you see that moment where Sam asks Bucky, he's like, you okay, man? Like, you okay?
Yeah, you good?
And it's just right, and it's just like, it's just so cool to sort of see that. But like, even in regards to Madripoor, like, it's so cool to see these worlds brought into, like, we had Sokovia, it's gone, and now we've got Madripoor, and maybe we'll get Latveria at some point. If we can get those characters in, and I don't know, man. I'm so stoked to see it, and I just thought it was a really good realization of that place.
Yeah, I thought it looked really, really cool, right? At least from afar, like what a wicked looking skyline it had.
Oh yeah.
Then you get into Lowtown, and it's like every night is purge night in Lowtown. Like
Yeah,
get me out of here, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone's fully locked and loaded and ready to go.
All right, yeah. So then after a short slow-mo walk, for some reason, we meet Selby, and Zemo offers his prize super soldier in exchange for information on the super soldier serum. She informs them that Dr. Wilfred Nagel was working on the serum and that he's in Madripoor. Before we have a chance to discuss things further, Sam's phone starts buzzing as Sarah is calling him. Selby forces Sam to answer the phone on speaker, and Sarah unknowingly gives up his real identity. Selby asks who's Sam and says, "Kill them," when, boom! Selby takes a bullet through the back, like came out the other side, and they proceed to fight their way out. As they make their exit, all the other bounty hunters around them start to receive the info on Selby's assassination and the bounty on their heads. And just as they're about to be stopped, they're rescued by none other than Sharon Carter, who decides to bring them up to her place in Hightown, where they discover she's an illegal art smuggler, and they make a deal that if she helps them, Sam will have her pardoned. So, guys, what did you think of the reveal of Sharon Carter, and why do you think she's still off the grid, given her relationship with Steve Rogers? Like, don't you think that she could have reached out to him before, having taken on this life of hustling, instead? But I don't know. What do you guys think?
You can take the thief out of the. You could take the. I don't know, but
I get what you're saying.
It's her nature, right? And I think she's. As much as she probably wishes she could, have a normal life, I think she's more suited and more comfortable sort of surrounding herself in this kind of environment. It just sort of works for her.
Yeah, I think this was a big question mark for me, and I think as we go further down, I will explain why. But I didn't like this part, so I feel like this was a bit strange. To your point, Nate, I feel like there could have been other people that she could have reached out to, right? And I feel like it kind of runs in parallel with what happened with Isaiah Bradley, right? Because we know in Isaiah Bradley's background that he assumed the role of Captain America and was arrested and treated as a treasonous criminal for his actions of representing himself so it's kind of runs parallel with what Sharon did. She stole the shield and the stuff, and then she was revealed this to be treasonous by her state. So kind of interesting, but I just feel like there's intention here that just feels a bit off, because I feel like someone like Steve Rogers could have probably set her up for success even after Civil War. You know what I mean? Like immediately after, like if he had heard the granddaughter of his love was under
kind of weird.
That's what I mean, right? Like I feel like there's something else going on here, which again I'll explain later.
She's technically both his ex-love interest and his granddaughter-in-law. So I just figured she'd be pardoned for that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
And he has to live with Peggy Carter knowing that he made out with his granddaughter.
Yeah.
Because he went back in time, dude. Right? Like, that's kind of weird, actually, when you think about it.
I don't know, man.
Because then he realizes that, wait a minute, that was my granddaughter that I made out with. Whoa.
But listen, speaking of the granddaughter he made out with, I did love just how badass they made her, though.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Obviously we'll get to it further in the episode, but even just the sniping, like just her with the sniper rifle, I was just like, who is that? Like, let's go. Yeah. I did not expect to see her, and I know she's an agent, but like I just thought that was so cool.
Sniper rifles are sniper rifles. If you got a sniper rifle, you're pretty much a weapon, right? If you got it. So it's the other stuff that we see later that's like total badassery right there.
Yeah. Well, Sniper's going to snipe. All right. So then just as Zemo is getting his groove on, Sharon gathers the three of them. He does that like dance move that was all over the internet right now. Yeah. I loved it. But Sharon gathers the three of them to Nagel, whose secret lab is inside of a collection of shipping containers. So she brings them there, and they approach Dr. Nagel, who, after they threaten him with a gun to his head, informs them that he was brought into Hydra's Winter Soldier program to pick up their work after the 5 failed test subjects in Siberia. When Hydra fell, he was recruited by the CIA, who had blood samples from an American test subject with semi-stable traces of the serum in his system. After much labor, he was able to isolate the necessary compounds in his blood. He informs them that the serum was going to be different, subtle, optimized, perfect. Before he was able to complete his work, he was dusted. And when he returned 5 years later to the program, it was abandoned by the CIA. So he decided to bring his work to Madripoor under the funding of the power broker. 20 vials were made, and he lets them know that Carly Morgenthau stole them. Meanwhile, Sharon is kicking all sorts of ass outside as she takes down every bounty hunter that shows up. She runs inside to let them know they gotta get out of there when Zemo shoots Nagel dead. And just as that happens, a bounty hunter from outside shoots a rocket into the shipping containers and blows the entire lab up. They escape, but are surrounded by bounty hunters shooting at them. We see them rescued by a purple-masked Zemo, who then discovers a supercharged car, as he calls it, and they drive off. They thank Sharon, and they're like, okay, we're out of here. And then we see Sharon, find, I guess, it's like her assistant or something, her friend, and they get in the car, and she's like, we got to talk about something. And then they drive off. So, guys, two things. First, what did you think of the absolutely incredible combat in this scene? And what do you think of the confirmation that it was Isaiah's blood that was used to reconstruct the serum? Kevin.
I mean, I didn't know when watching it that it was written by the John Wick creator. But it makes so much sense because it did feel very John Wickian.
Yes.
And they really do make her look like an absolute badass in that scene. Good. Yeah, it was really well done. But that's also the most violent I've seen a Marvel movie be.
Yeah.
She's shooting people in the head and stuff, point blank.
But you see the way they do it, right? Where it's like he's behind the shipping container, so you don't actually see the bullet go into.
But that's still a lot of shooting for a family or whatever.
The knife stabs were that's where I clued into how much violence, but to the point of what Nate was saying, it's how they do it. The last guy she shoots, when he comes around the corner, the camera pushes in and he's out of frame, so that when she shoots him, you don't see that bullet go through. You just know she's got him, right? So it's and when the stab happens, it's it happens under the camera, out of frame, so you can't see it, but you get the motion of it, right? So it's they did it really Disney-esque, but to your point, Kev, that was the most violent, killing I've seen.
The cinematography, though, the way that the camera sort of swoops back and forth.
One take to a certain degree.
Yeah, and it felt like a video game. It reminded me a lot of some of the combat that we see in God of War, right? Where it is just really close up, very action camera, moving between the legs at a certain point. And I just love how she used her enemies' weapons against them.
Yeah.
She just grabbed what she could and just, it was so well done.
She didn't have a gun when she started out, right? I think she only had unless she had it.
She had that stick.
Yeah.
I think she had that switch, right? Yeah. But bringing up the fact that it is written by Derek Kolstad, absolutely. And that's where some of the, and I'll get to it later when we kind of get to our overall thoughts, but that's where some of the sort of, I think, parts where it sort of lost me, where they kind of have pacing. Those quick, very easy moments, easy pacing. You see that in John Wick. John Wick very much is get to the next scene, get to the next fight, get to the next fight. And even if you don't have to do that in a smart way, it's okay.
Yeah, I entirely agree with you. I think that now understanding who wrote this, it makes entirely incredible amount of sense as to why certain things were kind of just so easy in terms of explanation, such as this doctor's explanation of what happened. It was crazy that we just got all the answers served to us right away, right? Everything was just there, which again, I might still question, maybe it was a red herring to throw these guys off, right? Maybe this was a setup, because it just everything felt very convenient about this. Oh, I know where he is. He's in his lab that's in a shipping container. But yeah, I think that there's something interesting about just how easily everything fell in. I'm assuming maybe it could be that he's throwing him off. The power broker, that is throwing them off.
I don't think so. I just think it's them finding out this information isn't the crux of the story we're being told here. Right. It's just a means to move to the next stage of it. And so they do need to sort of breeze through these details a little quickly so we can get to maybe the brunt of the story a bit. That's a bit bigger.
And I love that you see that moment where Sam and Bucky sort of exchange that look right after Nagel says American test subject.
Yeah.
And this actually makes me think that, like, I know we've got our what the Falcon is going to happen segment.
Save it. I'm saving mine. I don't want to hear yours.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, just
all right, I'll
save
it. I'll save it. I'll save it. Okay, we'll get to it later.
Before we move on, can we go back to what was the point of the setting up that they were going to be going to this party that we didn't?
Oh, nothing.
Really,
no, it was to see Zemo dance. That's
like,
it.
It was so, and it's like, it sounds like they went on a bender that night, right? They're in the middle of like trying to track down this mysterious doctor who's doing something with super, and it's like that. But you know what? Tonight we party. You know,
it's kind of weird.
Well, I think before they did that, there was a bit of a setup that they had to go finding the person that knew the location of where this doctor was. So they had to hit up all these. We
just don't see it at all.
No, we just saw one scene, and that's what I mean. That's what felt very convenient. It was like you see one dance club scene, you see Zemo fist pumping in the air, and then it's like, oh, hey, yeah, we have his whereabouts. It's in a shipping container. And then, moving on to the next, right? So, again.
Yeah, that was certainly easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if that was the line, though, Justin. I think it was like, okay, I know where he is. And then the scene cuts to the
Enjoy
next.
the party.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Not good. That's the kind of John Wick stuff that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We get back to Carly and Dovich, who are surveilling a GRC supply depot in Lithuania. We learn that they are from Madripoor, and Carly explains her aspirations of wanting to have been a teacher like Mama Danya. He reminds her that the power broker is going to catch up to them, and she lets him know that Nagel is dead and that the power broker will come begging now as they have the last of the serum. Guys, I'm going to kind of mix up the scenes similar to like I did in the first episode of our Watch Club, just so we can stay with the Flag Smashers, and then we'll get back to our other characters. So guys, then the Flag Smashers steal 6 months worth of supplies from the GRC, and as they walk away from the now incapacitated guards, Dovich asks Carly why she's leaving her car in front of the building. They get into Dovich's van, and she insists in that moment, like, put your seatbelt on, and boom! Her car blows up, incinerating every single person inside of the GRC building. Dovich says there were still people in the building, to which Carly replied with, "This is the only language these people understand." So guys, now that we know a little more of Carly's plan and sort of the measures she'll take to achieve a better life for her people, do you see her as a redeemable character who makes it out alive in this series, or do you think she's destined to end up just like Mama Danya?
I think she's destined to end up like Zemo, fighting for a cause that she believes so strongly and that she'll go to any means to achieve, even if it means people get hurt. I think there's going to be a parallel here. I think that was the big standout for me, at least, is that, she's fighting for a cause. And I don't think you can discredit the fact that Zemo was fighting for a cause, right?
I love that parallel, though, that you're blowing my mind right there, because you've got Zemo, who very much feels the exact same way that she does, but there's that sort of contrast between them because he hates super soldiers. So, it was interesting before we got to see the Flag Smashers in reality, there was all this like sort of hype and people were thinking, oh, well, the mask that they're wearing, the Flag Smashers is, Zemo wears a mask. And so there was kind of that the two and two put together there, but obviously they're not together. But I love that sort of parallel between their characters. They're both these mask wearing, people fighting for their cause.
They're
right?
fighting for their cause, regardless of this mask wearing business. But also, I don't think Zemo is necessarily, he hates super soldiers. He hates the idea of what the iconography and symbolism around heroes is based on the destruction that they leave, because he's a victim of their destruction, but they get praises around the world of being these heroes. There's that contrast. He knows that with the right sort of mental game that he is really equipped to play, a super soldier can be used to his advantage, like a Bucky or like a Carly. He says, as we get towards the end, I know where it's at the end, he says, I look very much forward to meeting this Carly, right? And I think that in itself is telling as to where their interactions are going to go.
Well, and I just wonder if, that wasn't a turning point for the Flag Smashers, in that they're now going to be at conflict with themselves, in addition to the outside threats that they're going to have to face, So I think, like she might have gone a step too far there. They had achieved their goal. They had achieved what they were there to do. There wasn't a need to sort of send that sort of message, and I think that's what we'll see.
And I think Dovich is going to die. I think Dovich is going to absolutely die, and that's just going to be another thing to push her over the edge.
But what if it's her that does it because he's trying to prevent her from doing something, right? And that's where she takes another step towards sort of supervillain, willing to do anything.
Oh, wow. Kevin, please write the show. All right. Well, getting back to John and Lamar, we kind of get this sort of like bookends kind of scenes with them. So we saw them in the beginning, and now we're seeing them near the end. We see them one step behind as John claims that Sam and Bucky broke Zemo out of the German prison, and that the two of them are going to go off the books for their next move, saying, if we get the job done, do you really think they're going to sweat us on the how? So guys, really quick, just before we keep going, what's John's next move?
I think he's not going to report in about what he knows and where they are. He's going to start tracking Bucky and Sam, and he's just not going to check in and let them know. He's going to go off the grid, or he's going to tell them that he's doing one thing and he's not doing that, right? Oh, we're following a lead over here, but they're over in another part of the world, right? So
I love that, because what if him not reporting in is what brings in the government? We get General Ross, kind of coming in, and that's how we maybe bring his character into the show, is like the lack of communication from his John Walker pet, if you will.
And how much of John Walker sort of being a rogue, sort of working for himself, does Lamar put up with before he's sort of like,
I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. You're going too far. You're not following the rules, and I don't know.
What if he kills Lamar? I'm sorry, I'm just going off of what you just said. But it's true. Like, that would be crazy.
A lot of backstabbing going to happen in this show.
Yeah, man, 100% in this spy thriller MCU show. Guys, then we get back to Sam, Bucky, and Zemo on the plane as Sam laments over his thoughts of everything Sharon had to go through, and how Nagel referred to Isaiah as the American test subject, like he wasn't even a real person. He mentions he may have made a huge mistake in giving up the shield, and Bucky starts to agree with him until Sam says he should have destroyed it instead. Bucky responds by saying that the shield means so much to so many people and to him, and that he would sooner take it for himself. Then Torres informs Sam that Danya Madani was found dead, so Zemo asks his butler/pilot to change course. Now, last week, guys, we had Mr. Mitch George on the show, as I mentioned earlier, and he had mentioned how he really thinks that Bucky is going to die. Hearing of his aspirations to take on the shield, do you guys think we'll see him as acting Captain America, maybe even in his final moments?
No. I honestly think, though, that he will steal the shield, because I think we've seen it in the trailers. We know Sam and Bucky will end up with the shield because they do like target practice.
I have a theory about how that happens.
Me too.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm excited.
So, and I think that what could happen is that we'll see them try to hold the mantle of the shield and maybe fail at it.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But guys, then once they're in Riga, which it's like Riga, Latvia, I think. Sam, Bucky, and Zemo are heading to Zemo's next like safe house when Bucky sees something on the ground. He mentions he's going to take a walk, and then he follows a trail of small black beads. And after picking up the last one, he says, "I was wondering when you were going to show up." He turns around to see Ayo, leader of the Dora Milaje, who responds by saying, "I'm here for Zemo." So, guys, were you expecting to see a Wakandan in this series? And do you think the series is going to address who is currently ruling over Wakanda? Justin?
No to that question, because I don't think they even do yet. Or they've really officially
they
done
haven't
that.
fully figured it out. Yeah.
But I was expecting this after Sam's little, do you think Wakanda has forgotten? So obvious. And I don't know, it just stood out. And I was like, okay, so we'll probably see someone from Wakanda show up and want to get Zemo. I just didn't think it was going to be in this episode. I was very surprised at the end when I saw that black bead. I was like, is that? And then I'm like, there's another one. I'm like, what is that? I was like remembering. I'm like, is it something? And then I was like, oh, it makes sense. So
they're called the Komoyo beads.
Komoyo beads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think given that this show really is shaping up to be like a sequel to Winter Soldier and Civil War, it only makes sense that we get the Wakandan presence, especially because of Bucky's history with them. It makes total sense. I'm just wondering why they went with the less familiar of the two sort of female bodyguards. Like, why wasn't it Okoye instead?
Well, because I think, to Justin's point, I think they're maybe still considering, Shuri or Okoye or Nakia or M'Baku, right, as a potential next Black Panther, or at least ruler of Wakanda. So I think Ayo is a great character being here, because she was actually the first of the Dora Milaje under T'Challa's rule, which I thought was pretty cool. She's kind of like the first person that you see as like his bodyguard. There's that amazing moment where I think it's she's talking to Black Widow, where she's like, "Move, or you will be moved." I was just like, let's go. Like, I want to see more of her.
Well, and in the comics, she does have a far more significant role, and she led a rebellion that sort of formed the way that Wakanda was ruled afterwards. So
I'm actually glad that they chose her and not necessarily someone well known. I think that she's known, obviously, within the Black Panther.
I mean, I had to look up who that was if we had seen her before. And I guess she was pretty prominent, but like, what's her name? Danae Gurira from who I would know from Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Like, she would have just been more recognizable. I think that was all that was. Like, Sarah was like, who the heck is that?
Yeah, and I think that's for a lot of the more casual audiences of the MCU. There's it's a good thing that there's articles all over the internet for them. But I also think, like, in Bucky's story, which is all about redemption, it's going to be really interesting to see who he supports here, right? Like, will he get in the way of her because he knows that they need Zemo to stop the super soldiers, or maybe he actually ruins the plan by helping her to kill Zemo? Maybe even like really soon, maybe in the next episode.
I feel like what's going to happen here is that he knew what was going to happen. Like, obviously he said, I was wondering when you were going to show. I think he knew what was going to happen when he broke Zemo out, and he was going to have to deal with it. And if anyone's going to deal with it, it would be him. If it was Sam, I don't think they would have the luxury of a conversation. They would just take Zemo back and return him to prison. Do you know what I mean? But because they know Bucky's involved, they want to know what's up, right? So I feel like, who knows? Maybe in the next one, she helps on one of their little missions, right? That will get them to their next solution, right?
Yes. Okay. Awesome. I love that. Okay. Well, guys, that is it for the plot of this episode. Guys, let's hear it. Your overall thoughts and score for the episode, which we're going to be rating on a scale of 1 to 5 Komoyo beads. So yeah, who wants to go first?
I'll jump in. Sure. Yeah, I actually really liked it. I thought it was a really solid episode. I think it did a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of sort of setting up who our major players are on both sides. I thought the sort, we got that real buddy cop feel with Zemo, Bucky, and Sam sort of working together, and I thought it led to just some great on-screen chemistry. And obviously Zemo, just what a performance. I hope we see him for the rest of the show. I just think he's really terrific in that regard. I like what they're doing with the Flag Smashers. I think the two actors they've chosen there are doing a really solid job of painting, giving those characters some real personality and some real depth. So I liked it, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And if this show can keep doing that, where the momentum just feels like it's building more and more through each episode, then I think it's going to be a lot of fun as it sort of winds down over the next 3 episodes. I'm going to give this a 4.2 out of 5 Komoyo beads.
All right. Interesting. So there's just like a piece of some Komoyo bead just on the ground there.
Yeah, smashed one. Yeah.
Oh, a flag smashed one. Justin, what are your final thoughts on the episode?
Well, right off the bat, my rating for this one will be much lower than previous episodes. I'm going to give this episode 3.9 out of 5 Komoyo beads.
There you go.
Nailed it.
That's a 78. That's not even certified fresh, yo.
Oh, no.
But I feel like the thing that bothered me about the episode was some of the pacing, some of the convenience of things. What I did love about it is more the Easter eggs that it planted for things that might not necessarily be associated to this storyline, but the greater MCU, like Madripoor, mutants, even friggin' Wolverine, right? So it's cool, right? But I do think that they are, again, just slowly seed planting some really interesting elements that I'm going to be more excited to see kind of take fruition in other episodes. So for now, this one's a little bit lower than the rest. So yeah, 3.9.
Okay. Isn't it amazing what WandaVision was able to do for us as fans?
Yes.
Now, we go to a place like Madripoor and we go to Wolverine's bar and we're just like, yeah, that's cool. That's all I need. That's fine, right? Whereas a month ago we would have been, what the hell? Why didn't we see more? But now we're like, yeah, they're probably not going to show us anymore. So take what you get and deal with it.
Because of Mephisto.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. But I want to see this universe's Wolverine from Madripoor, who owns this bar, who wears like a white tuxedo. He wears a white tuxedo and he has an eye patch.
An eye patch. Yeah,
and
what a disguise.
Yeah, he looks like a Bond villain, right? Like he looks like a Bond villain. Cool. So
well, listen, I'm taking back what I said last week. I don't think we'll actually get him in this series, as much as I would love that. But no, for me, guys, this episode was the weakest so far. And even it being the weakest, though, I still thought it had fantastic moments. I thought the way they showed the breakout was actually really great to keep the plot moving while still showing us kind of the breakout scenes that we needed to see. And, I did find, though, that like there were some really strange choices that kind of took me out of the show every now and then. Like the pointless, that slow motion moment where they're walking into Selby's room was absolutely pointless. Or even the moment of, Zemo. Listen, it's funny seeing him dance for a half second, but that whole dance thing and then having Sharon, as I mentioned earlier, come in and being like, okay, guys, I found him. Let's go. I was just like, what? Like, that's literally what she says. So for me, like those moments of pacing where yes, it's keeping the plot going, but it's not doing it in smart ways, really felt off to me. So I did not really enjoy that. I thought the character chemistry again was fantastic between Zemo and Bucky and Sam, and I love that. And don't get me wrong, like I love the whole like ensemble cast thing, but I think the pacing was off between characters, and for some of them felt too small at times. Like again, just the whole aspect, like I like the book ending of the scenes with John and Lamar at the beginning and at the end, but it just sort of, they felt a little unnecessary in this episode. If you're gonna do them, don't just show us them for like 0.5 seconds. But overall, like again, when Marvel puts something out that isn't perfect, it's still really great. And what they introduced in this episode and what they laid the foundation for with Madripoor and with Wakanda in this episode. And also, guys, I'm just going to up the points on this one because of Sharon's combat. I just think it was so fantastic. So for that reason and all those reasons, I'm giving this episode 4 out of 5 Kimoyo beads. I can't break into the 3s like Justin. I'm sorry. I can't. I love the MCU too much. So 4 out of 5 Kimoyo beads. Kevin, you look like you were totally disagreeing with me on some stuff.
Well, I just, I think this episode wasn't necessarily about John and Lamar's story so much, but you need to see them. We need to know where they are. And I think we'll see a lot more of them in the next episode.
Right.
And for them to have shown us sort of where this character is going in one scene, for them to be able to do that, I think that's strong writing when you're able to get that much character development in such a short amount of time. So I think it hit the notes for that particular moment.
I think the first scene did, Kevin, to your point. I think the last scene was.
But now we know where they're going, right? They're gonna track our guys down. So we need to know these things, but you don't have to dwell on them too long,
I guess. Well, guys, speaking of dwelling on things too long, we're going to wrap up this episode. But just before we do, I want to know, guys, we got to talk about it. Do we have any predictions for where we think all of this is going to go? I need to know what the Falcon is going to happen, Kevin.
You guys have been touting that you've got these grand fantasies about where this is going, so I'm just going to sit back here and listen to you guys. Yeah.
All right, cool. Justin, go ahead, buddy.
All right, I'm gonna drop some hot takes for you. No, I'm just,
dude, what the Falcon?
What the Falcon?
Man,
okay,
is gonna happen, dude.
I totally am wondering what is up with Sharon Carter. I don't know if she's working for the power broker or if she
is the power broker.
Is the power broker. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think she might be the power broker. And I think that's why she didn't go back and try to get a pardon or try to get back home. She wanted to have her own power, if you will. Something that was for
but
herself.
Then why help Sam and Bucky?
She didn't go in though. Right? Like she didn't go in right off the bat.
She stayed outside and protected them, and she led them there, and she saved them the night before.
There. I think they're still integral to whatever plan could be going on, because obviously when she gets back to the car and she tells that assistant, we got to talk about some stuff. Who knows?
Sorry, just to go, Kevin, was she protecting them, or was she protecting the potential serum inside of those canisters? Right?
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And like not only that, but and sorry, Justin, you can keep going. The power broker is watching. We see that written all over the walls.
Yes.
So how would she she snipes Selby right away, and then she's always watching.
Yep.
And so part of me thinks that
you're swaying me, especially
right?
the way she's upset when Zemo kills the doctor, right?
Yes.
Why would she be so upset at that moment
Yes.
if she didn't have something at stake there?
Dude.
Swaying. I'm being swayed.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
I don't think the intention was to necessarily get them off the track of the super soldier formula. It's getting them off the track of the power broker and who the power broker was, which is why she led them there. And she was protecting them, obviously, because she knew that the hit was out. And that hit went out pretty quickly. It also makes me wonder if she put the hit out. Do you know what I mean? Like she put the hit out so that
killed a few of her own men to sort of
even up the score a little. Who knows? There could be a bigger plan at play here. So, anyways, I thought that was really interesting. Bucky's acknowledgement of stealing the shield back, I think, is really cool. It's an interesting idea, and I think that might be the turning point for John when he gets his ass handed back to him by a super soldier, and the shield gets taken from him. That he's like, "Yo, I'm not Captain America.
Oh.
I got to take some super soldier formula, and I'll be Captain America." And that's what's going to kind of push him over the edge of trying to track, if but not by the point that happens, that we know who the power broker is, or if that's just more amplification for him to say, I need to find the power broker because he is going to give me what I need, right?
Interesting.
Very cool.
Those are some two hot takes, because I feel like Zemo is gonna screw them over at some point, which is gonna lead them to kind of fail at some point in this season, and they're gonna take the shield and kind of go into their own hiding, probably back where Sam's from. In Georgia.
It kind of does look like that area.
Yeah, right. And they're just going to sit out there and just probably toss that shield around and just do some target practice. You know what I mean? And shoot.
Okay, let's go into the back and toss the old shield around.
It's kind of like in Age of Ultron after they had their asses handed to them in South Africa, right? They went to Hawkeye's place, and they kind of took a beat and just tried to figure out what their next plan was. So I think we'll see that happen again, and this time they'll have the shield, and I think there'll be a lot more at stake. So hot takes for what the Falcon is going on. But Nate, what the Falcon's going on, bro?
Let me jump in on this. So here's the deal, okay? If I don't know if she is the power broker, if she's not the power broker, I think if she's a good character, then I think maybe she actually is the one that has the real shield, and that she had stolen the shield again, because she stole the shield the first time. She's stolen the shield from the museum, and that the museum, she replaced it with a fake shield, just given the fact that she's that art dealer.
Why else did they have to spend time setting that up if not for that? Okay.
Right?
I like that
maybe
too.
they bring that into play, and so she has the real shield, and maybe she ends up giving it to them, and you see this moment where John, to your point, does get his ass handed to him, and the shield breaks, and maybe that's an end credits thing where you're like, holy crap, someone can break the shield, but it's not the real shield. I don't know. I think that would be a really cool sort of switcheroo, and it would also just sort of call back to the fact that she does, she's stolen the shield before. She'll do it again, and maybe she makes a quip about it or a joke about it. I don't know. I think that would be really cool.
I like that.
I also have some like other theories here. Like, I think that if she's not the power broker, that maybe Zola is involved. Because Zola we've seen him now. He's a computer program. He's like a robot. He's like kind of like an Ultron. And so like maybe because, you notice that moment, that John Wick moment where all the bounty hunters get texted so quickly. Like, is he going through the internet to... I don't know.
I like that. I 100% like that. I liked the introduction of Zola in The Winter Soldier and how they reintroduced him as this sort of computer mindframe and interface. And like, if that's all that he existed in, and you can't imagine that was the only place he might have existed in. There must have been some sort of backup of that data, right?
Yeah, dude.
So that's an interesting theory. I enjoy that. It would be interesting to bring that character back and the rich history of Hydra and really how Hydra's really at the root of all of this. I think is quite compelling.
And then my last one, and this one is I'm just gonna throw out there, guys. This is like
Mephisto, man.
This is like a Mephisto. It's not Mephisto, but it's someone else that starts with M. I'm wondering if maybe we get to see the Mandarin in Madripoor at some point, and maybe he's we think that like they're talking about the power broker when they're talking about like the man up high in uptown or whatever, but maybe the Mandarin is maybe a really big player in all this, and that's how they can set some stuff up for Shang-Chi, which I know is going to be coming up. I think isn't it this year?
It is this year. It's going to be September. It was moved to September.
Right. So I could see that happening, but listen, that's my last. I'm just throwing that one out there for fun.
Interesting.
But yeah, guys, those are my my what the Falcon is going on. I really hope that we get something right, because so far I'm only gotten the thing about the notebook correct so far.
Yeah, but that's what's fun about it, right? Like I feel like the whole fun of like talking about it, and doing these podcasts is to kind of just be geeks about it. Read between the lines, talk about what we love and what we'd like to see happen. And if it happens, boom. Like we were talking about Madripoor for a while, and it's just nice to see that confirmation of it show up in this show. So, goes to show it happens. They're not all Mephistos, right? Like they're not all failures.
That's true. But he might still be he might actually be the power broker. Well, listen, if you want to write in the show with your thoughts and maybe share your what the Falcon is going to happen predictions for the series, you don't have to drink a snake's amniotic sac to get our email. Justin, can you just tell them what the email is?
Yeah, please don't do that. That's not good for your health. You can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That is wearegeekcentric@gmail.com.
That's it for this week's purple mask-filled episode of Watch Club. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. And if you don't know, we also have more than just Watch Club. We also have our regular episodes of the Geekcentric podcast, with our latest episode out now, where we talk all things ragtag antiheroes and play a round of fake or real strange comic book character edition. So go give that a listen. Give it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
And then this week, I've got a big WrestleMania-sized episode planned where we finally do some chit-chatting about wrestling with a couple special guests. So I'm excited for that, too.
A wrestling podcast? What? I mean, I guess those guys are pretty geek-centric about wrestling.
Yeah.
But guys, Justin and Baron Kevin, thank you so much for joining me for today's Watch Club. And as we say,
on your left.